gentlemen. Back up, Paulie. Times. Protect. Any questions from the blue corner? Any questions from the red? Touch him. Paulie. Touch him.
Teddy Atlas, Kevin Watts has no concerns with Paul Malignaggi's style. He said, I'll show him that I'm a bull. I will show him that on this night, he's going to be in a man's world.
Well, he's going to be in a speed world. And he better be ready for that speed tunnel. That speed tunnel goes by the name of Malignaggi. He's got quickness, puts punches together. Best asset is that pure speed from Malignaggi. One thing he's missing is the power. Every once in a while, Malignaggi will break the rules because of that great asset of speed. A lot of guys that have natural speed, they will break some of the fundamental rules. They will reach in from too far away, figure they're so quick, they can get in there and score before you can take advantage of it. But when you reach in from too far away, every once in a while, there's somebody sitting in the lurch, waiting to time you as you come in from too far away and nail you a clean shot. Let's see if Watts can do that. Remember, timing can nullify speed.
Malignaggi showing off that jab early on here in round number 1. Kevin Watts has faced very limited opposition in his ride to 18 wins. His last 5 opponents, their winning percentage combined to be in the 40s. Step up for him, jab, sticking it right there from Malignaggi.
Malignaggi changes distance pretty good. That's one of his lines of defense. And also to set up our offense. He uses his legs, he'll step out, hope to make you miss a little bit, and then counter. Every once in a while, Watts will reach in a little bit, not negotiate the distance right, not work his way in. And if he reaches in, Malignaggi takes that step back at the right time, he's gonna get a hole. And if Malignaggi has a hole, he's gonna fill it with punches. And that's what he's trying to do right now, Joe. He's trying to use his leg, Malignaggi, the undefeated kid. Trying to use his legs to step out, create that, exactly that, room to counter.
Landed the left hand there, finding his range.
There's one problem when you primarily are dependent on your legs for defense and to set up offense. Sometimes you go straight back. Sees an opponent, if he gets the right distance, he can step with you and he can time you. As you step back, he's with you and you can be vulnerable, you can be straight up. Every once in a while, Malignaggi does that. He has to be careful. Also, you can be predictable using your legs all the time. The old timers would say, let's have a couple different ways, not just your legs. Let's move your head sometimes, let's block sometimes. Because there are 3 lines of defense: blocking, moving your head, and as we already said, Malignaggi likes to use the legs.
For nearly 40 jabs in the first 2 minutes of round number 1 did Malignaggi.
So far, Watts, too slow. Not able to negotiate his way in. Doesn't know how to get in that front door. Hasn't selected a key yet.
There's the medal. That's the end of round 1.
And the counter punching and the experience of Dale Brown. What are we in store for, Teddy?
I think we're in store maybe for the local kid, LaMontagne, to have a long night. I think that he is second best when it comes to technique. He's not the best fighter. That's not a knock on LaMontagne. He's a more physical guy. He's the tougher guy. He's got the better chin, but he's not the better fighter. He's not the better boxer. So we're going to see the strength overcome technique and skill. It's going to be interesting.
How about Kevin Watts here? I thought he was going to bull rush him. What happened to that strategy and game plan he came into this fight? His speed kind of took over in the range of the jab with Malignaggi.
Speed and change in range, using the legs to step out. And when he was reaching in, he was getting counted. And that makes you tentative. That makes you think twice about being aggressive or cocky.
Punches in round 1, 58-30, a 17-3 edge for the undefeated Paul Malignaggi. Back to that jab early on here in round number 2. Had success with it in the first round.
You know, I'll take a second to say, you could talk all you want about cockiness and arrogance of this young kid Malignaggi, but I've been able to talk to him in person. He's a nice kid. The
That's one of the things with Paul Malignaggi, Teddy, is that if you only know him from watching him in the ring and the bolo punches and the showmanship and sometimes showing off right in front of his opponent's face, you would never know what he's like outside the ring. But we asked him about that, and he said, you know what? I have a certain anger and a fear of losing, and that's what I'm communicating sometimes when I do that showboating, is that I have no desire to ever lose, and that arrogance comes through his anger.
He puts new meaning to game face, you know. Doesn't have to be Sonny Liston. It doesn't have to be, you know, scowls and mean, that kind of attitude. Malignaggi does it in a much different way, a cocky but a go-lucky way. Right now, Malignaggi using distance, using the jab, using the speed. He wants distance, Malignaggi, because you can exploit your speed better at distance, because there's more room for your opponent to make a mistake, and you can beat him to the punch. In close, you can't take advantage of that speed quite as much. The guy can get physical. He's closer. Not as much room for the punches to travel. Take that advantage of speed away a little bit on the inside. Watts better start thinking about going downstairs to the body. We just said it early in the fight. Malignaggi likes to use those legs. Watts better start getting a plan to take those legs away. Watts 10 years the younger, or the 10 years the senior of the younger 22-year-old Malignaggi. Watts 32 years old.
Watts got a late start, started at 23 years old. Says he's not a beat-up 32-year-old. Looks at himself as still a fresh guy. Good stiff left hand from Paul Malignaggi.
Malignaggi doing it mostly on the counter side. They use a jab to stymie you a little bit, and to set things up. If you stay out there and cooperate with him, he's going to pick you apart. He's going to tattoo you with the jab. But then if he gets you a little angry, which is what he wants to do with Watts, gets you a little anxious, he can step out, get a lot of his offense on the counter.
The bell, the end of round 2.
The Hampton Beach Casino Ballroom, our annual visit. Friday night fights on the New Hampshire shoreline. Round number 3, Paul Malignaggi and Kevin Watts. The jabs through 2 rounds, 108 thrown, a 32-3 advantage for the unbeaten Brooklyn fighters.
Watts been looking for one big shot to slow down Malignaggi. That's a wrong way to go. You're going to be looking all night for that one big shot. Malignaggi's going to do that. He's going to skate right out, see it coming. I believe Watts needs to start getting that jab going. I'm not going to say he's going to out-jab Malignaggi.
Hey, whoa, whoa. Don't hit
The
the back of the
referee
head. Don't hit the back of the head.
taking charge, giving a warning to Malignaggi for a little rapid punching. Malignaggi not going to touch gloves.
And there always comes that point. There always comes that point in a Paul Malignaggi fight where the opponent starts to react to what Malignaggi is doing, and that flashiness and that style. Sometimes it works for Paul, sometimes it doesn't.
See, Watts has to start using that jab. Like I said, he doesn't have to out-jab or outspeed Malignaggi with the jab. He just has to keep Malignaggi honest and not let him have a picnic with his own left hand and not have to respect anything coming back at him. He's got to start to negate the jab of Malignaggi. See, that time Watts tried to time Malignaggi coming in. Every once in a while, Malignaggi will give you something on the platter. They reach in here, break the rules because of that speed. You got to be ready to pull the trigger and nail him as he's reaching in. Right now, Malignaggi's just taking what's given him, the jab. He's looking for Watts. I believe if I was in his head right now, he's looking for Watts to bite down. What I mean by that is to commit to something where he leaves himself open. Other than that, Malignaggi's going to be satisfied with the jab. Unless he gets Watts to get a little angry and reach in. Then Malignaggi's going to look like there to throw a counter hook or something. No body work from Watts, Joe. You'd expect the corner to start to get on that. See, one advantage Watts might have, he's been a little bit bigger his entire career between junior welterweight and welterweight. Malignaggi's still growing, still filling out, but he turned pro as a lightweight. His first 7 fights, and then he moved up to junior welterweight. So Watts, the bigger guy, you can see the more mature guy, maybe the stronger guy, but he's not using that if he's not close. And if he's not going to the body, he's not going to get close. That size of Watts is not going to help him outside with a quick whip, snapping jabs at him, and not having to worry about his physical advantage.
And here we go.
Watts needs to use that jab. I'm telling you, he needs to use his own jab instead of just looking for big shots.
Stop!
Kevin Watts in that last round, the first glimpse of trying to meet Paul Malignaggi in terms of the style, the arrogance, and the cockiness. Problem is, didn't really serve him well or do anything. Teddy, through 3 rounds, he's still trying to locate that target. Still trying to find Paul Malignaggi.
And that's the problem. Trying to find him with a big shot. Instead of using the jab just to slow down, stabilize Malignaggi. Instead of looking for it all at once.
Malignaggi has thrown more jabs than Watts has thrown total punches heading into this 4th round.
When you want to attack a big problem, right now the speed of Malignaggi is a big problem for Watts. You have to do it in segments, not all at once.
Hey, next time I got to
done
get
all at once,
no wrap and hit. Come on.
There'd be no contest. There would be no challenge to it. You wouldn't be in that position to begin with. There has to be a plan. So far, no plan from Watts.
So far, a clean sweep for Paul Malignaggi on Teddy Ellis' scorecard. And the talking has begun as the jab continues to come in. The jaw of Malignaggi as active as his left hand.
Some new tattoos. That's a new addition to the back of Malignaggi. People watching at home going to say, well, Malignaggi keeps his hands down. He doesn't have a good defense. But he's doing it when he's at a distance, when he knows he's safe. When if you come in, he can counter you before you can get into punching range. And if you get close, or he gets close, notice Malignaggi's hands go up. Malignaggi has a good trainer, good teacher. Billy Giles is in charge of his development. Billy Giles is the man who developed the young Hector Camacho Sr. to his first world title along with Bob Lee.
Flash.
Yeah, speaking of a little bit of talk, a little bit of trash talk, Billy can teach that as well as teach the jab. Billy's okay. From Harlem, New York.
Consistent jab again from Paul Malignaggi. He's been there all night. Connects on the inside, puts his punches together. Not a big hitter. Started his career with 3 straight knockouts. Since then, only 1 in his last 10 fights.
You know, as cocky as Malignaggi's supposed to be, he's kind of patient. If you really recognize what you need to recognize here, at least what I think you do, he's staying with the jab most of the time. He's not opening up unless Watts starts to bite, unless Watts starts to give him something to open up with. Otherwise, he's content. You know, you think a cocky guy is can't wait to get at him. He's like, you know, chewing at the bit. He's being pretty controlled, pretty contained, Malignaggi. He's the guy with the plan here, not Watts.
And through 4 rounds, exactly the way he wants it. Paul Malignaggi feeling comfortable. And here's some of the trash talking we've talked about. The irony of Paul Malignaggi fighting a fighter whose nickname is Cocky. Well, here's what Paul had to say about it.
When I think about his nickname, Cocky, he tries to be cocky. I mean, I don't see what he's got to be cocky about. All he has is his toughness. So usually when you're cocky, you have to have some flair, some flashiness, something to show the crowd, like wow, some pizzazz, basically. You know what I mean? And Kevin Watts has none of that. Kevin Watts is just garbage.
I think he knows who he can, you know, bully and he can talk to, and he knows I'm not one of them people. I'm a straightforward guy, and I'm tough. I ain't going anywhere. I'm gonna be there for all 10 rounds if he makes it, which I doubt it. And that's why I think gets under his skin. He knows he can't get under my skin.
Round number 5. Malignaggi called him garbage. Watts said he's unaffected.
Those are things you don't really want to hear. This is a tough sport.
There was a ton of trash talk leading up to this fight from both sides.
This is a sport where both guys in there taking more chance than any other athletes in the world. That you don't want to see too much of. Of course, the greatness of this sport is when it's over with, everything's forgotten. They hug, they embrace, they respect each other. But that's where, and I know the people around Malignaggi, they're cognizant of that. They want to control. They want his flair. They want his personality to come out. That's him. You don't want to, it's like a stallion in the wild. You know, you want to train it, you want to control it, but you don't want to lose that spirit. And I know that that's the quandary for his people, and he's got good people around him. His promoter, World DiBella, one of the more solid people in this business that cares about things like that. I know they want to keep that kind of fire and that feistiness, but at the same time, not cross the line being disrespectful.
We saw in his last fight, we showed you the clip, when he fought on the Tuesday night series, Malignaggi attempted that bolo punch when he was in a situation where it wasn't necessarily the smartest choice at the time. And the guy countered him with a left hook. It kind of went right back in his face. He said tonight he wants to have that spirit and have that showmanship, but show smart boxing.
Well, he is showing smart boxing. He's not in there with Pernell Whitaker, but he's doing what he's being allowed to do with Kevin Watts. He's containing himself, too. He's controlling himself real well. He's not trying to do too much, and that's important. You hear Michael Jordan throughout the years of basketball saying some of the young kids, they try to do too much. Let the game come to you. Don't force yourself on the game. And you hear some of the great competitors say that. Very important for the young people to understand that. Right now, Malignaggi, at 22 years of age, he's letting the fight be controlled by him. He's not trying to impose himself beyond the proper level in this fight. He's controlling himself, taking the outside. Now he's getting cocky. He's taking the outside and trying to get Watts to help him a little bit. But he's not getting over anxious by any means, Malignaggi. As much as he talks, as much as he flashes, and his clothes yell at you and shout at you, he's still contained. He's still thinking in there. He still understands the sweet science a little bit.
And just about halfway through this scheduled 10-rounder, Watts has landed under 10% of his punches thrown.
Stop!
Friday Night Fights presented by Miller Lite from the Hampton Beach Casino Ballroom. Joe Tessitore ringside with Teddy Atlas. 10-round scheduled junior welterweight between Kevin Watts and Paul Malignaggi. The punches through round 5, a big edge for the Magic Man, the unbeaten prospect from Brooklyn, Paul Malignaggi, 91-22. And you see the land percentage for Kevin Watts, 9%.
Kevin Watts has two problems. One, finding the target. The other, letting his hands go enough to have a chance to find the target. Not letting his hands go because he's letting them go the wrong kind of punches. It's not just about punching. Otherwise, it wouldn't be the sweet science, Joe. It's about understanding which punches to throw and knowing which punches to throw. Watts, when he wants to throw, he's throwing big shots, leaving himself open. Then he gets tentative later on to throw anything. He needs to start throwing the simple punches, the jabs. Don't look for the home run. Start getting singles. He's behind. He needs men on base.
In between the 5th and the 6th round, a realization by the corner of Malignaggi. They all agreed, you know what? He's not strong enough to do what he needs to do on the inside. He's not getting it done. And look at Watts sticking out his tongue, saying, I'm not affected by that jab.
But he is affected. And that's why he's sticking his tongue out, Joe. He's frustrated.
No doubt. Malignaggi's laughing.
See, this is what looks bad if you're a Watts backer. There he got his hands free, but he gets inside close where he's the biggest, stronger guy. And good shots.
Right hand from Malignaggi. Oh, it puts him down.
Watts just a moment ago stuck his tongue out, showed he was frustrated. That means you're not thinking. That means you're going to leave yourself open. That means he left himself open, and Malignaggi took advantage.
Malignaggi, he's going to go to work in the final minute here. Watts looks really bad. That's it. Joe LaPlante stops it. So he sticks his tongue out, Teddy, and then gets licked.
Sticks his tongue out. Might as well tell you, I'm frustrated, I'm mad, I'm a little bit angry, and I'm going to leave myself open. And Malignaggi took advantage of that, and he closed the door.
2:09 of the 6th round. After an exchange of trash talking, Paul Malignaggi follows it up with a couple of right hands for the first knockdown, and then goes after the target and finishes off Kevin Watts.
And it's important that he had this kind of win, because up to this point, not real exciting. If you're going to be cocky, you're going to be flashy, you have to make good fights, and it wasn't a barn burner up to that point. Great finish, sensational finish, you could almost say, for Malignaggi. The way to close the show, especially on national television.
Malignaggi outlanding Watts in those 6 rounds, 111-24. Very impressive display tonight from the unbeaten prospect from Brooklyn. All right, Teddy, let's set it up for you. Here's what started things off.
All night long, Malignaggi using the jab, and the jab is not to finish the fight, it's to start the fight. It's to get the guy frustrated, it's to take what's given you. Then all of a sudden, Watts gets a little frustrated, leaves himself open. If you can hit a guy with a jab, what can you hit him with, Joe? You can hit him with a right hand, and Malignaggi knew that. You can hit him with the jab, you can hit him with the right hand. And Malignaggi, he hit him with the right hand behind the jab. And one credit to Malignaggi, amongst all the other things he's going to get credit for. Once he got the opening, he went in that door. Again, the jab lands, that means the right hand can land. And that means Malignaggi can go to the locker room a little early.
And only Paul Malignaggi could come to New England with a New York Yankees emblem on his shorts and waving a flag too. So the flashy showboating New Yorker, Paul Malignaggi, gets the KO win. Speaking of flashy showboating New Yorkers, Max Kellerman is standing by ready to roar. Let's head back to Brian Kenny in the studio. Brian?
Break my jaw. He needs to be saying, break my jaw. Break my jaw. I mean, right here. Gleason's, baby. Make some room in the top 10, baby. Magic Man's coming. Make some room, baby. We take on anybody. Make some room, baby.
Ladies and gentlemen, the time, 2 minutes, 15 seconds of the 6th round. The winner by technical knockout.